Hi, my name is Marcia Jews. Welcome to STEM City USA's coverage of the Women of Color STEM Conference. Through all 3 days, we will be bringing you incredible interviews with inspiring STEM pioneers leading the way in industry, government, academia, and around the world. And now, please welcome our next guest.
Hello, my name is Autumn Leake, and I work for the Naval Air Warfare Center Weapons Division as the Chief Engineer for the Sidewinder Technical Project Office, as well as the National Lead for the African Americans Pipeline Action Team.
I'm loving this Naval Air Warfare. Let's talk about that. So, how did this journey for you?
That's a good question. So, it all started in college. It's funny. I was at a career fair my senior year of college, walking around, meeting with employers, trying to get my first job out of college. And I was actually walking past this booth because I had never heard of NavAir before. And a recruiter stopped me and they were like, "Hey, you're a computer engineering student. Have you ever heard of us before?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Well, let me tell you about all the cool things that we do." And so I had an excellent time listening to this recruiter tell me all about NavAir, what they do, where they're located. I was pretty much sold from the time I talked to them. So the rest is kind of history, because after that, I interviewed and I got an offer, and I've been with them ever since I graduated college.
I love it. So, about how many years? You don't have to be specific. Just a couple.
13 years ago.
Oh, that's a long time. And that's really wonderful. That's a huge division. So, what is your area of expertise
thank
there?
you for the question. So, mostly weapons. So, weapon systems. That's right. So, mostly air-launched weapons for naval platforms. Pretty much anything that comes off of a platform or ship. Yeah.
I love it. So, when you first went in there, what did you think when they first hired you? Did they put you in an office, or were you on one of the landing docks?
So I was in an office, but I was hired into what they call an engineer scientist development program for NavAir. And so when they have onboard you, you actually start doing 3-month rotational assignments. So it's a very new environment, because you come on board and you think, "Oh, I've got this job, I'm going to be doing this work." And they're like, "Yeah, welcome aboard. Now go find some work." That's great.
Right now.
And so it's really cool because you really get an opportunity to learn the organization and the people. It's all about the networking and just understanding who the key players are, which groups have the type of work that you're interested in. I mean, it's a really great way to kind of find your niche and just really get in there and do what you love.
Right. And they're no nonsense, too. And then there's that, right? And so in what systems are you working on?
So systems that I mostly support. So like currently the weapon system I support is a Sidewinder. You probably heard about it in the news.
Is that the one that has the propeller at the top and the bottom of the
No,
wings?
so this is a kind of like a smaller weapon system, and it was in the news. It actually is one of the weapons that took out the Chinese balloon. Yeah, so that's so that's the system. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so in looking at what you're doing over there, what did you want to be when you grew up? And here you are over here at the Naval Air Warfare Systems Division. What made you decide to go into do this?
Oh, yeah. Well, so like I said, just getting that initial exposure really at the career fair. Like I said, I really hadn't, when you think about engineering, you mostly are kind of exposed to like companies, corporations, in like the tech world, Silicon Valley, right? They kind of like dominate that industry. But there's this whole new area of opportunity in defense and working with weapon systems and platforms, supporting, the Department of Defense and the warfighter. It's just opened my eyes to so many other opportunities and ways to support the country, which is amazing. So that's really how I got interested.
I love it. And that's real
Yeah,
that.
absolutely, absolutely.
And so, in looking within your structure, where do you see yourself in the next five
Ooh,
years?
good question. 5 years, probably in leadership. I mean, the role I'm in now is leadership, but it's mostly technical leadership. You
Okay.
know, I'd probably like to stay along that track. I enjoy being technical. Yeah, and I
I
love,
love it.
kind of being hands-on. Working with systems. So, I would say, definitely, probably still doing technical leadership, but maybe. Maybe somewhere above that, maybe, responsible for a number of programs, right? Or products, as opposed to the one that I'm supporting now.
And what you will not find is that they're going to run out of things for you to do or products that you need
That's
to
right.
use. So I think that it's a good place to be able to lay the foundation on what all you can do through that DoD
Yes,
division,
absolutely.
right? And so, in doing that, I also see that you are an alum from North Carolina Agriculture and Technology Technical
Yes,
State University,
that's right. Aggie
Aggie
Pride.
Pride, right? What made you decide to go?
Well, so that's kind of an interesting story.
Oh, good.
So I'm from Midwest, and I grew up in Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, and I really had a desire to go to a historically Black college or university. In fact, I was encouraged by my grandfather at the time to really pursue those universities to get exposure to one, the culture, right, but also just the many opportunities. He really had a high regard for Black colleges, and he was the one who kind of shed some light on that for me. So
I
yeah,
love it.
so that's kind of how I got my exposure to HBCUs. But what's funny is that I actually ended up going to Xavier University of Louisiana. That's
New
right.
Orleans.
And Katrina interrupted my college education, so
Ah,
that's how I ended up at North Carolina A&T. But both
mhm.
colleges, were certainly critical and pivotal to just my journey and my life story of becoming an engineer. It's quite amazing, the things that I've had to become.
And that's
Yes.
huge. But that's huge. Yeah, I went to Dillard for
Oh,
5 minutes.
okay. I've been on Dillard's campus. It's a nice school.
And so when we look down the road, you see the whole landscape. Where do you see yourself in the
Ooh,
next 10
10
years?
years. It's a good question. Maybe in some type of like executive leadership. A lot of the work that I've been doing in the organization that I work for now kind of centers around STEM work, but also like inclusion in that space. And I'd really like to make some change, be able to affect change really on a greater scale. And I think doing that, really requires executive leadership. So I think I'd like to pursue that.
And that's huge, though, because we need to be able to build these infrastructures within these organizations so that the footprint gets larger for people who look
Yeah,
like
for
us.
sure. Yeah, that's right.
Right? Right? And so, as you look into the future with what you're doing now and what you've done before, where do you bring it all together? What are the five things or three things that you see yourself doing in order to reach your goals and
Wow,
objectives?
that's a good one. Well, so one, I think kind of mapping how to get there. That's important. You don't with those kinds of positions, you don't just kind of land there, right? You kind of plan. So I
Right,
think
right.
mapping that out, kind of what I think that looks like for me in my career. That's number one. And the second thing too is kind of like balancing that with like my family aspects, because I am a mother of a toddler, I have a husband, I'm married, so I want to be able to, I enjoy my work, but I also have a family. I want to make sure I'm taking care of home. So
Right,
for me, it's about finding a balance and kind of outlining the timeline when that would make the most sense, right?
right.
Um, Second thing, and then the third thing on what I could do, I really would like to focus on the mentoring aspect. It'd be really good if I could, start shadowing and spending more time, with senior leaders that are already Yeah,
I
in
love
our
it.
organization. I think that'd
Yeah.
be really beneficial.
Mhm. And it's necessary, right? It's necessary because a lot of people are not bringing some of those people who they see in the workplace every day. They don't bring them to these environments where these young people are. And so we've got to figure out how to
Oh
find
yeah,
that
and that's a
balance.
challenge too. Like I mentioned, with the work that we do, it's not widely known, right? So, getting some of that exposure and kind of sharing the knowledge about what we do, it's like the main thing, just getting the awareness out.
That's right. And like the kids say, the main, let the main
That's
thing be the main thing, right? And we have to keep our eyes
yeah.
on that prize. So when we start looking down the road, and you are already following your path, what are the next three things that are priorities for you?
Ooh. So definitely the career mapping, like I said. I think outlining, kind of like an individual development plan, right, for myself. Starting with some of the short-term goals, right? Because, like I said, you don't just. I mean, sometimes people get lucky and they land places, right? But you do want to do
Yeah.
some planning. So I think for me, it's going to be about outlining my short-term goals, things that are kind of like critical now and in the next 3 to 5 years, and then 5 to 10,
Yes.
um, and then maybe even longer, right? Just forecasting, trying to forecast what the career might look like in that time frame.
Right.
So, yeah.
And being able to bring all of it together under one umbrella. That is also the
Yes.
challenge. You see it. But I think it's fascinating and very important that you spend time growing into your vision for your company and seeing yourself and your company doing all of the work that you need to do to make it happen. That's the priority, right? And so we're talking about all of these weapons divisions and all of that. What does that look like for you? Are you involved in any of these programs at all?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, a lot of the work so I work for a technical project office. So a lot of the work that we do is centered around, all of the aspects of a system, a defense system. So when you think about like production, sustainment, um, future concept development, that kind of thing, it's pretty much all aspects,
Mhm,
of a DoD system.
mhm. Well, and within your division, what does your team look like in terms of how many engineers you actually have and how many people that you brought in to help outline and develop your new
So,
business?
so it's a multidisciplinary team, usually a combination of engineers, scientists, technicians, but also logisticians. So it's a variety of skill sets and backgrounds, all of which kind of have to coordinate and work
Right.
together. And and I don't just bring folks on for my group. I'm a recruiter too for my organization.
Yeah.
So, so a lot of the work that I do too is bringing folks on, finding a way to onboard them to support other business areas in the organization as well.
Mhm, mhm. And you need to be able to have that
Oh,
capacity.
absolutely. Yeah. It's a privilege actually to be able to do that. I actually am excited and happy that our organization allows for the technical staff to kind of go out and be the
I love
recruiters
it.
for the organization. I recognize it's a unique, opportunity that I have, and I really enjoy doing that.
And that's important. You got to do what
Yes,
you love,
absolutely.
right? Any other questions that you have for us?
Um, just some general ones. How is it going? I mean, I've really been having a good time here.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Well, so that means that if you love it, you got to come back every
I
year.
would really like to.
Right. You need to. And then at some point in time, you need to submit a winner's
Yes.
package.
Yes.
Okay. So there's some steps that you need to be thinking about. They've been together. You've been here for 28 years. And so, how do you take that 28 years and develop those relationships from those people who've been here all
That's a good
along?
point.
and get yourself a couple of sponsors and figure out how you can get those to help you, mentors to help you develop whatever it is that you're trying to work on in your division. Because there's a whole bunch of people who have a lot of intel that you need to penetrate. And while you're here, spend time
Yeah,
meeting
absolutely.
people. Right? Right?
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. And when you sit down and you look at all these people coming, these people have been coming for the last 28 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so there's a lot that you can take from some
Yeah.
of those
Certainly a
workshops.
lot to learn. Yeah.
There's a lot to learn, but there's a lot to learn. It's
Yes,
lifelong learning.
absolutely.
Lifelong learning. Any other questions or concerns, or you want to share something with
Let
us?
me think. I want to say thank you for the opportunity. I'm so excited to be here this week for the conference. And I've met a lot of STEM professionals, folks that I've planned to keep in touch with.
Good.
And this has just been a great opportunity, just in general. Like I said, not just for professional context, but also for meeting young people, inspiring them,
Right.
and
Right.
kind of passing the knowledge on about what we do.
Passing the
Yeah,
baton.
absolutely, yeah, and paying it
Right.
forward too, right? Yeah.
I like that. Yes, and that's
Yes.
critical. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see
Yes,
you
hopefully.
next year. Oh, you're going to come to Black
I would
Engineer
like
in
to.
February.
Yeah,
in DC.
Bea is fun. I enjoy Bea.
Yeah. So you'll have to
Okay.
come in
All right.
February.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, God bless you.